Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of The Cloud. This is a place where I am going to be highlighting any and every creative that I can literally find in Los Angeles. Today, our very first guest ever is my very best friend, Kerri Brooks. Yeah! Kerri, I'm so excited to have you here. Kerri is a casting producer in the reality TV slash competition television world. She's done shows as far as MasterChef Junior, MasterChef Spring Baking Championship. What other shows have you done?
I've done anything from the ones you just said to like Project Runway to game shows like Let's Make a Deal and The Price is Right and just even kid shows like Kids Say the Darndest Things, just a whole array of different shows that you probably heard of.
Right. So a little backstory. Kerri and I have known each other since 2015. We met in film school in Florida, and it was love at first sight. It was fantastic. And it's actually funny because I have no experience in the casting world really at all, except for the one time that we both worked together on MasterChef and also MasterChef Junior. But it was
Yep.
cool to like see the insights of how
had,
that
had to rope
world
you in.
works. Right, right. It was very cool. So can you just give us like a rundown of essentially what you do on like a daily basis in the life of casting?
Yeah, so for casting reality TV, game shows, competition shows, basically it's my job, show depending always,
Mm,
but to basically find people and get them to apply for these shows. So
right.
we're looking for chefs, like we're looking up hashtags on Instagram, we're sending DMs. So I'm literally just trying to pull as many people that would fit the criteria for the specific show to get them to apply and be their biggest cheerleader.
Literally, right. Because
Yeah.
that's your main job is the people, the network says, hey, we're doing this show. I need this, this, and this. This is how many I need. And you're like, all right, let's do it.
Exactly that. So we are just
So
pulling people out of the
Li-
woodworks.
literally. So you were talking about hashtags and having to use social media and stuff, which leads us into our next segment, which is questions from the cloud.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love these sound effects. They're fantastic.
Oh my
So
god.
we both posted on our Instagram stories asking our followers some questions that they may have for somebody who is in the casting world of reality TV.
A lot of good questions
A
too.
lot, like too many.
There's a lot. So we'll do what we can.
Yeah, we dwindled them down to just a select
The
flu
important ones.
few. And here's the first question. So, what is the audition process like for a reality show?
Right. So also that's like an interesting question because people think of it as an audition, and typically when it's for reality TV competition, whatever, it's more of like an interview. You're not really
Right,
auditioning
right.
because
You're not
you're
preparing 8
yourself.
bars of a song.
Exactly. You're, interviewing as yourself. So with the process, basically, whether or not you were reached out to by a casting professional, you're going to do an online application, submit that. And the short version of this is you submit your application. Typically, a member of the team, once your application is approved or everything that, fits the bill that they're looking for, they'll reach out to you, set up a phone interview, Zoom interview, whatever from that. And then basically that interview gets recorded, cut down your interview, and we make like basically the best bits of everything that was from your interview, and we put it all together, and then we pitch that off to the network.
Hmm,
And so we're kind of your biggest cheerleaders at that point. It kind of depends on the network, like what they're looking for.
right.
So we love you, like we want you to look good. So there's only so far we can take you to an extent. But basically it just goes from like application, interview, pitch, and then there'll be secondary interviews just depending on what show it is and how long, like how many different
Right.
steps
It
there
really
are.
literally
Um,
depends on the show because they're
right.
all different. They all need different
But they're
things.
they're typically always like multi-step processes. Some only have like 3 steps and some have 20. It
That's
just
so
depends on
wild
the
to me.
show. Yeah.
So how does it work? Because I know there's shows that have like the cattle calls. Because I know from MasterChef, obviously before COVID happened, they had the cattle calls where they would rent out a hotel or some venue, and then
Right.
they would just say anybody who wants to audition, come on out.
Right. So specifically with MasterChef, because I've worked on that one, I can speak on what I know from that. But if you apply for MasterChef, somebody will reach out and be like, "Hey, we're gonna be having an open call in this city on this date. Like, hoping and praying that, you're physically, financially, and emotionally available to make it there,
Right.
bring your dish and present yourself and
And there's usually like
everything.
hundreds of people.
Yeah, it's really different from city to city, but like people will show up if they really care,
Yeah.
and so that's kind of how the open calls go. And then obviously after that, there's the like interviews following that,
Yeah.
and
It's like a
whole
whole
bunch of
thing. There's
process.
multiple
Yeah,
rounds. So when you are watching American Idol and you see them doing the cattle calls and waiting hours and hours in line, and then they go in front of, Randy Jackson and or whoever are the judges at the moment.
right.
It's not that. They're waiting in line and they're going to
They're
other
seeing casting
producers.
producers before they even get to
So
Randy
they
and
may not
Paula.
even make it to them,
Yeah.
which is so crazy because that's not what they show on TV. So I think that is really cool just to know. Okay, next question. Is it annoying to producers if I keep applying more than once?
So it's a complicated question.
Yeah.
The short answer I would say is no, only if you're applying like it's been, a year and it's a different season of the show.
Or a different
Um,
show?
Right, but for example, like if you've applied, haven't heard anything, I promise you we got your application.
Right.
And it's usually not personal. It's either like we're looking for something specific or like it just doesn't fit the criteria for that specific show. Even if you have like gone through and done a whole interview with a casting
Mhm.
producer and then you hear nothing and then you apply again, like I promise you you're in the mix. It's just
But
like
you
it
always
takes
tell them if they didn't make it, right?
no. So the thing
Oh.
is, like, if we told everybody that they didn't make it, that would be our only job. We'd be
True.
making
There's a
calls all
lot
day
of
saying
people.
sorry, just delivering bad news all
Got
day.
it,
So
got
like,
it, got it.
no news is news. Like, unfortunately, if you don't hear back, sometimes it can take up to months. It just depends on the show.
Right.
But like, typically, don't call us, we'll call you.
Yeah.
Is the generic.
So if
rule
you
for
didn't hear
that.
back and it's been a while, probably didn't get it.
But there's nothing saying you shouldn't apply again like the following season. People have been applying for like Survivor and Project Runway like
Yeah.
over and over again, year after
Seasons.
year.
Mhm.
And then like eventually they do make it on. So there's nothing wrong with like applying repeatedly like over the course of
Different
years,
seasons.
right? But if you do an interview like I'm gonna apply again, get another interview with a different
like,
producer.
No, it doesn't work like
Actually,
that.
you're not.
You're not going. It's
we
me.
know who you are,
It's me.
Jeremy.
Okay, next question. How do you choose your cast?
So choosing your cast, I feel like kind of depends on what the criteria is for each show.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a matter of like what bills we're trying to fit, whatever the network wants. It's like we're trying to put our best foot forward by making you look the best you can.
Exactly.
So like we're your biggest cheerleaders. We want you to look good, and we wouldn't pitch you unless we thought like you had a really good shot at making it.
Right.
So it really is still show depending. Like we're just gonna pick the best people we would feel like we're the best people for that show.
Yeah.
So it's very unbiased. It's just like we are trying to like if we need to pitch 20 women for this dating show every Friday, like that is just kind of how it goes.
That's who you're looking for and that's who you're submitting.
Exactly. So it's not really like we're looking for personality and we're looking for people to be themselves. It's very different from show to show.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's very different. There's no one answer to that question.
Right. Okay, next question. When auditioning for a show, is there anything you should or shouldn't say? Ooh, I feel like
love
that's
this question.
important because for those who are watching who are interested in potentially auditioning for a show, I feel like this is a good question to have an answer to.
Right. So to be generic and just cut to the straightforward answer, don't say I would make great TV or
It's like, okay, cool,
chances
same.
are you will, but you just can't tell us that we know.
Right,
Like we'll
right.
figure that out on our own. And another one is it is wonderful if you're an actor. I love that you're an actor. I love that you have an IMDb. I really do. However, when you're pitching yourself as like, oh, I'm an actor, I'm great in front of the camera, here's my IMDb, here's this, and it's
Right.
like we're looking for real people. You're not playing a
Then
role.
go audition for Wicked. I don't
Right.
understand.
Get out of here. Hit
Right.
the Gershwin Theater.
But I could understand because before I did MasterChef, I was like, of course, why would we not want actors? They are comfortable in front of camera. You know,
Right.
they know how to be on set. But it's like reality TV is reality. Like you're looking for authentic, real people for the most part,
Right.
and you don't want people who are showy and trying to be something that they're not. I feel.
Exactly. And so it's times like not in every situation, but some actors will literally just do anything to be on TV. They'll be whoever you think
Right,
they think that you
right.
want them to be.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like we want you to be yourself. We want it to be consistent. So when
Hmm.
you're just, like cutthroat, I'm going to be on
You're a
TV. I don't care
character.
if I'm right. So typically it's not great to mention if you're an actor unless
Yeah,
that is your literal full-time job,
yeah.
because a lot of occasions people will be like, I'm an actor, and then we're like, oh, okay, so
Next.
do you drive for Uber? Yes. Thank you for being honest.
Perfect.
Now we can move you forward.
Right. What's your actual job? How do you make
Right.
money?
But there are people who actually, do well doing acting, and like
Yeah.
it's not to say that you won't make it onto a show because you are an actor.
Yeah.
But typically we're not looking for it to be your selling point of yourself.
Right. So, what would be something that you would want them to say, or what's a good thing to
Right.
do?
I feel like the best thing you can do in an interview with any like casting producer, director, whoever, is just be yourself, because that's going to be the
Right.
most consistent thing you can be.
Literally.
Right. It's the bottom line. Like we don't want you like playing a part you think that we want. Like we want you to be yourself. And the best thing you can do that'll make us love you so much is to just, if you follow instructions, just for
Hello?
simple like Zoom interviews. Like if your Zoom interview, you'll get an email with all these instructions and it's overwhelming, but it'll typically be like, make sure you have good lighting, make sure
Mm.
you're not like holding a screaming baby,
Yeah.
make sure you're not in your car, make sure you're not driving, make sure
Yeah.
you're not at Starbucks,
Because you're like filming these interviews, right?
Exactly. And they're getting cut down to make you look like your best self. So
Yeah.
you want to look like your best self. So when we Zoom you and you're laying on the couch popping bonbons in your face mask, sometimes it's like, oh, am I
Right.
interrupting something?
You didn't get the email? You're not reading the email?
Right. So like whatever your interview says to do, like if it says to be standing, be standing. Like it'll just make us so much happier and like you so much more
Right.
already, because you can follow basic instructions.
And you don't have to redo all this and take up time. It's just like,
Right.
okay, you're ready to go. Let's do the actual interview and be done.
So the keys are to basically be yourself, follow instructions, and you're already 50% chances higher than
Yeah,
anybody
yeah,
else.
yeah. I love it. Okay. Next question. Are there rules about casting contestants that have been on other reality/competition shows? That's actually a great question because I don't know the answer to that.
Right, and that is a good question, and everything I'm saying is show depending. It really just isn't.
Exactly.
It
Right,
just
right.
depends. But generically, typically, like if I've been on a dating show and then I apply to be on another dating show, the chances are they're not going to put me on both since I've already been on one.
Right.
But if Timmy Tom's been on a dating
I
show
can't.
and then and then he decides that he's also a really great baker, and
Mhm.
he has a cupcake shop now and he wants to be on a baking show, sometimes that works out. And like just typically speaking though, like you're not going to be on a lot of dating shows, you're not going to be on multiple different
Yeah.
cooking shows. So it just kind of is a matter. But then there's like people like Chloe who's been on Love Is Blind, she's been on The
Which-
Circle, and she's a star,
Love my girl Chloe.
and that's why people watch
And
sometimes.
I saw her on, what was she on first? She was on Too Hot to Handle first.
Right,
That
so
was
yeah,
her very first
right.
thing, which we watched. I loved her. And then she was on The Circle,
The Circle.
which I was like, I did watch The Circle, but knowing that she was going to be on The Circle, I was like, oh, I have to watch because I love her and I want to see her more.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it's good when they have people that are like audience pleasers and people really, really like them to put them on. I think it's beneficial because it would make me watch a show that I haven't or didn't really show interest in watching regardless. Before
Exactly.
She was on
And
it.
then sometimes there are rules like between networks where it's like you don't want to take a person from one network and put them on another. So
Ooh,
there's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just different depending on every show, but generally like there are rules.
Yeah.
Every show has rules. It just depends on which one you're applying for.
Love that. Alrighty, so we have our next segment, which I'm very excited about. Kerri does not know about this one, but she did know we were going to play a game. I just didn't tell her what game we're playing.
Right.
So the game that we are playing is called Who Would You Cast? Yeah. So essentially what we're going to do, we are going to recast in a pretend world a movie, and you are going to tell me
my
who
forte.
you would cast in the main roles of this movie. I know it's not reality competition casting. However, I
No.
think it would be fun to see who you would put in this
Right. This is
movie.
a job interview now.
It literally is. Right. Who would you cast? That's
Right.
a great job interview question. Okay. And the movie is, drum roll please. I don't have a sound effect for that, so. The Devil Wears Prada. Does this seem familiar?
Seems about right.
So I texted Kerri the other day, and I was like, "Hey, what's your favorite movie?" And she was like, "Why?" And I was like, "Just answer the question." And so she said The Devil Wears Prada. So I thought that would be very fitting.
It
for
was an
this
aggressive
game.
question. He needed an answer immediately.
I was in the process of making the slide, so I was like, "I need you to answer right now."
Stressful.
Okay, so let's go with the first one, which this is going to be very difficult because she is a queen, a
I'm
legend,
already
an
mad.
icon.
I'm already mad.
Miss Anne Hathaway, who plays Andrea Sachs. Who would you recast her as in today's society with the current people that we have today? Who would you cast
As
her
if
as?
Anne Hathaway has passed away.
As if she's no longer with us. We love her.
Ugh.
And if you're watching, love you, sis.
I would recast Anne Hathaway as Anne Hathaway, playing herself.
Not an option. Incorrect.
Okay. Well, I already have an answer, and I
Okay.
just feel like she plays the same type of role pretty well, and I think it would be Victoria Pedretti from You and Hill House,
Love.
Sublime Manor.
Okay. First off, obsessed with her. She's probably one of my favorite
right.
actresses right now, like in general.
Right, I feel like she just all of a sudden was just like very involved in
Yeah.
a lot of Netflix series. She's gorgeous.
Did you watch season 3 of You?
I did.
It's unreal. It's so good. Right. But I feel like she would be great in this movie.
Right, I feel like she kind of plays like the same sort of passive character in some of the not you, but in some of
Very
her
much
other
the
things.
opposite.
But I think she would do great in this role. I'd love to see her as this actually. If it
Yeah.
were to have to be remade.
Yeah. Okay. Next one, which is going to be even harder, is the legend herself, Miss Meryl Streep, who
Meryl.
plays Miranda Priestley. That's a huge role to fill.
It is.
Who would you pick? I don't even know who I would pick. Literally.
Well, I am currently watching very slowly. I like to not binge watch. I like to create relationships with the characters in the TV
I
shows I watch. Like, I cannot part ways with them too quickly. And I'm watching Grace and Frankie currently. And
Okay.
I feel like Jane Fonda would do this with
Okay.
no struggle.
Yeah.
No struggle.
She would kill it.
She could be Miranda Priestley.
I feel like she could be mean too, because she's not very like mean in
She's
the show.
not mean. She's assertive.
Yeah,
and we
yeah,
love
yeah.
her for that. So
I would love that, and she could potentially bring like a comedic, aspect to the role.
Miranda Priestley does not joke
She
around.
does not joke around.
So I don't
at
know.
all.
We'll see. But
Okay.
I think she would actually kill it.
I think she would too. I really do. Okay, so we have Victoria Pedretti, we have Jane Fonda,
Yeah.
and lastly, the iconic role by Miss Emily Blunt, who plays Emily. That's a mean role.
It is a mean role.
She's
and,
pretty naughty. She's not
and
nice.
My favorite naughty girl I would cast as this role would be Elizabeth Gillies
Oh, Liz Gillies.
because I'm obsessed with her. And
What is she in? Dynasty right now?
She's in Dynasty. She's in Sex,
Mm.
Drugs, and Rock and Roll, which
Yeah.
that was different. And
She
also
would
plays
kill this.
Jade in
Oh,
Victorious.
right.
And
Perfect.
this girl, she's got a sweet interior, but she's very
Yeah, she's got some things to
rude.
work
She's
on.
mean. She
Yeah.
does. She needs therapy for sure.
I
But
love that.
I would love to see Liz Gillies play Emily. In
That would be an
this.
iconic cast.
It would be. Maybe we should just This was a job interview, huh?
You know what? We're doing it. We're
let's
gonna
do
make it.
We'll go send the offers.
Be on the lookout for it. I am obsessed.
Oh man.
Kerri, thank you so much for being on the
Thank
show. I
you.
appreciate it. You're an iconic first guest of the show.
So
it's awesome.
creative.
Right, literally.
So creative.
Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. We have many, many more people to be featured on this interview, which is so exciting. Make sure to follow, like this video, share it with all your friends, and we will see you next time. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to you and to you and to you and to you. Yeah.
You get a hat.
And you get a Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will be featuring guests on the Cloud LA every other Wednesday, followed by a sit-down interview where we really dive deep into some of the questions that were sent in with the guest, and that will be every Friday. So if you are interested in being one of the featured guests on the Cloud LA, make sure to send in your submissions to thecloudla.submissions@gmail.com. Just shoot it to me and say, hey, I want to be on and then we can kind of connect from there. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to turn on our notifications. That way you are not missing any of our amazing guests. Now, go watch another one of our videos. Thanks.